Hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting, God I sound like Andrew Kramer, another exciting tutorial. This time we will be working with After Effects. Now, we will be creating this effect. Let me mute this. This is the kind of Vortex shot I used in Trinity. Now, I used a third-party plugin to make that effect, and today's example is going to be slightly different because I'm going to try and use the default plugins that are available within After Effects, so that even if you don't have that plugin, you will be able to do this. Now, I am going to explain one thing quickly. You see the hotkeys that are appearing at the bottom of the page. This is Command key, which would be Control on the PC, and that would be Alt on the PC. So just in case you were wondering what the shortcuts I'm using are, that should explain a lot. Okay, let's get started. So this is what we are going to be doing. Play, damn you, play. Okay, so as you can see, it's a lot different to the one I used in Trinity, but the theory behind it is the same. Now obviously you can see we start with a kind of solid ramp and then it explodes into lots of little tiny embers, revealing the all-important turnip behind. And why turnip? Well, when I searched this picture in Google, turnip mystery, no, I searched turnip and even Google was wondering why a turnip, and of course the answer is right here. Yes, it's carved. So talk about answering your own question. Let's get started. Okay, so here we have a basic empty comp, and I'm going to save time by copying. This is just a basic solid, and as you can see I've feathered the outside with an elliptical mask, and I've then added another mask in the middle and subtracted so that we have a kind of black hole in the middle. Now let's make a new solid, and we are going to add a ramp to this. And just make this dark red. You can use video for this, and as you can see in the video will produce obviously vastly different results. Now I'm going to offset the start of this layer and then extend it backwards, and I'll explain why later. Now let's add the shatter effect, which is obviously the fulcrum of this, and we will be switching this to rendered. Okay, so now as you can see we have the default bricks, and After Effects chooses bricks by default, God knows why. Switch that to glass, and we're going to up the repetitions, which is the size of the tiny pieces, to 20. And if you keep going far enough, you'll see that the pattern keeps repeating itself and doesn't look that great, so 20 is just about adequate for the comp I'm using. Extrusion depth, this is how thick the pieces are. If you're working with texture that looks like a wall, you would probably want that to be a lot thicker, but I'm going to pretend this is glass, so I'll bring it down to 0.02. And for the force, we're going to increase the radius to 0.6. This will just make sure we don't have any artifact on the edge of the frame. Okay, so that is basically the shatter. Now we're going to change not the gradient, the physics, and knock the gravity down to 0 so that these pieces fly. We're also going to knock the viscosity down, which will make sure the particles fly a lot easier through the air. Okay, so we're now going to duplicate this layer. No, definitely didn't want to do that. Okay, duplicate the layer and hide the top one, because that is going to be our glass. Now, the idea behind this effect is, like I said, I used a third-party plugin, but for this example we're going to use the default swirl, which does an okay job. Right, switch the angle to 1 and increase the radius to whatever. Okay, so as you can see, now we have it kind of splitting from the middle. Now we want the background to stand out, so we are going to add a glow. And because we've got really dark colours, we're going to have to change these colours to kind of yellow, orangey colours. Bring the threshold down. Make this kind of more orangey. Okay, now if we want the back pieces to be a lot smaller, so we're going to increase the repetitions to 50. And we're also on these back pieces going to change this ramp. I don't like this ramp at all. To kind of red or orange ramp. That's going to be way too bright. Darken it down. And we're going to change this to radial ramp. So it kind of works out from the middle. Now obviously that's been affected by the twirl as well. But now we have kind of Hall effect shattering. If we add this in front of it, we can start to see the effect coming together. Now I'm going to duplicate this, and what you can do is either offset it on the timeline so that the pieces shatter a bit differently, or you can just rotate it. So that's basically how the effect was built. I mean, the fun part is experimenting, and what we're going to do here is we're going to add a radial blur on the adjustment layer. Radial fast blur, and change the overlay mode of this to screen, which will kind of just give it a bit more motion. Move this down to about 5. Just make the effect look a bit more believable. And as you can see, the pieces are kind of a bit too gold, and we're going to want to tie everything in this together by using our good old friend CC Toner to give it a kind of fiery gold colour. And that is basically how the effect is built. I mean, from here it's all about experimenting. Let's go back to the original. And obviously, as you can see, the last example was missing that turnip, which I think is definitely taking a lot away from the effect. And I've added a word kind of smashing. That could be an image, it could be a kind of cannonball falling through the ground or whatever. And also notice here on the glass, if I bring up the effect, if you go down to the material, you'll see that just before it shatters, I've made the kind of light more apparent. Can you see on the pieces of glass, which just really makes the glass stand out as it shatters. It just makes that look a lot more interesting, and obviously the all-important lens flare just behind the glass. If I solo this, you'll see this kind of just adds that kind of explosion element. Can you see just behind here in the middle? And then obviously everything shatters. And I also changed the pieces in the backgrounds to can you see originally they would be glass, and I've changed them to little stars and triangles, which looks more like embers and just looks really cool, I reckon. And then, like, this is just the start. Like I said, it's all about experimenting from here. If I change the origin like I just did, oops, not for that, sorry, of the twirl, There it is, 12 center. Can you see you can make it shut from the side. Okay, so we've reached 10 minutes, so I'd better call this a day. But try it out and have some fun with it and see what you come up with. Thanks for watching.